Okay, welcome again in this session. So, in our earlier session, we talked about the subjective poetry, and from there, we started our discussion with the lyric. And in this session, we'll start our discussion with sonnets. So, first of all, let's see what is sonnet. So, sonnet is also a form of subjective poetry, just like lyric, and also it's short in length, it's not too long. Um, Usually, we have 14 lines. It's a poem, it's a kind of poem that is a 14-line poem, we can say, and not more than that. So the sonnet structure actually consists of 14 lines, but it has a different structure. Uh, you can see that we can divide this poem into two different sections. In the first two different segments, for example, in the first 8 lines, they have a different name, and last 6 lines, they have a different name. The first 8 lines, they are called octave or two quatrains. And as you know, quatrains means quatrains actually it makes up of 4 lines. So there will be 4 lines, 4 lines, total 8 lines. So that will be octave. And there will be in the second segment or second part, we'll have a sestet. In the sestet, we have a 6 lines of stanza. Sometimes it's 3 lines, 3 lines, and sometimes 6 lines altogether. So you can see a sonnet, it's a type of 14-line poem, and it consists of an octave and a sestet. Octave means 8 lines, stanza of 8 lines, and sestet means stanza of 6 lines. So total 14 lines. So sonnets generally use a meter of iambic pentameter and follow a set rhyme scheme. If you can recall that in one of our lectures, when actually we were discussing about the elements of poetry, there we talked about meter. Meter actually that is the arrangement of food or stressed or unstressed syllables or unstressed or stressed syllables. So the combination of a stressed and unstressed syllable or unstressed and stressed syllables, this combination we call it meter. So there are different kinds of meter, especially we need iambic and trochee, as you can see. So meter of iambic pentameter, and we also have a set rhyme scheme in sonnets. Now, within these general guidelines for what makes a sonnet, there are a wide variety of variations. So there are different kinds of sonnets or variations, though we are saying that it is 14 lines, but different in a European tradition, especially, they divide poetry. I mean, especially the sonnets, in different ways. In English literature, they have a different kinds of sonnet style, and in Italian sonnet tradition, they have a different kinds of sonnet style. So in European countries, many different kinds of sonnet style that we can see. But all of them, they consist of 14 lines, but the arrangement of the stanzas and also the rhyming pattern and also the rhythm and of course the meter pattern, sometimes they differ. So they have difference in those cases. Now, the two most common sonnet variations are the Italian sonnet. It has another name that is called Petrarchan sonnet, and another one is English sonnet, and sometimes we also call it Shakespearean sonnet, because William Shakespeare actually he introduced his sonnet form, so that's why it is called Shakespearean sonnet, or sometimes we also call it, but usually it is known as English sonnet. So two different kinds of sonnet. One is Italian, it has another name Petrarchan sonnet, and another one is English sonnet, which is another name Shakespearean sonnet. So, what is the main difference between these two? The main difference between these two, I mean, this Italian and English sonnet is in the rhyme schemes. The rhyme schemes. Rhyme means the rhyme that we see at the end of the sentences, at the end of the lines. Okay, the rhyming pattern. We'll see, we have lots of examples here. So, with the help of examples, we'll try to understand it. Now, before William Shakespeare's day, the word sonnet could be applied to any short lyric poem. In Renaissance Italy and then in Elizabethan England, the sonnet became a fixed poetic form consisting of 14 lines, usually iambic pentameter in English. So you see, in Renaissance Italy and then in Elizabethan England, actually during the Shakespeare's time, the sonnet became a fixed poetic form. That means there will be no change, 14 lines, and there will be an octave, and there will be a sestet, and there will be a fixed rhyming pattern. So it's a fixed poetic form. You cannot have any kind of deviation. So, and also iambic pentameter will be there. Meter is also fixed. And it came to from Italy to England, or you can say the English literature from after the Renaissance that happened in Europe. Now, different types of sonnets evolved in the different languages of the poets writing them, with variations in rhyme scheme. So I told you the rhyme at the end of the sentence, like A, B, B, A, B, A, B, just like this. That's the rhyme scheme and the metrical pattern, the stress and unstressed syllable or unstressed and unstressed syllables pattern. So we can find variations regarding these matters. But all sonnets have a two-per thematic structure. So the thematic structure, it has two thematic aspects. Means themes will be treated. Two different kinds of theme, but there will be one idea, but it is divided into two different themes, and almost all the sonnets actually they have these two different thematic structure in the same sonnet, containing a problem is and solution, question and answer, or proposition and reinterpretation within their 14 lines, and a volt or turn between the two parts. So you see in the first part, that means in the first 8 lines, a kind of problem that will be introduced, a kind of question will be raised. And in the second part, in the last 6 lines, a kind of resolution or solution or answer to the first part, or the problem that has been raised or introduced in the first part, that will be answered in the second part. So that is the interpretation or reinterpretation. In the first part, we have the proposition. In the second part, we have these interpretation or the solution to the first, the problems or the questions that has been raised in the first part. So the first 8 lines that will talk about a kind of proposition or a problem, and the second part that consists of 6 lines of the sestet, there we'll find the solution on the answer to the problem which has been introduced in the first part. Okay, so total 14 lines. So within these 14 lines you have to do it. But one interesting thing is that uh, you see the first 8 lines and the second 6 lines, the last 6 lines you can say. So there in the last 6 lines, the very first line of the last 6 lines, I mean the ninth line of the poem, ninth line of the poem, that will introduce or a kind of turn that will give you an inkling or a hint of the turn of the proposition or the turn of the idea. So the first part, the idea that has been introduced in the first 8 lines, we can find a turn from that theme to a different theme in the ninth line. This ninth line is called volta. This ninth line of these 14 lines, among the 14 lines, the ninth line of the sonnet is called volta or a turn. That is a turn of thought, turn of idea. Okay, Asif, have you got it?
Yes, sir. I got it, sir.
Okay, great. I will give you an example. From there, it will be more clear to you, so you don't worry about it. Okay, now sonnets share these characteristics. So these are the characteristics. I mean, you can see it very clearly. 14 lines. Okay, and it can be broken down into 4 sections called quatrains. Okay, so there will be quatrains, 4 lines. Okay, then a strict rhyme scheme will be there. Okay, the rhyme scheme of the Shakespearean sonnet, for example, is A B A B, C D C D, or E F E F G G. So you see the first quatrain, the first 4 lines, the rhyming pattern is A B A B. Second 4 line or the second quatrain, C D C D, and the third quatrain is E F E F. So this it makes 12 lines. You see, A B A B 4 lines, C D C D 4 lines, E F E F 4 lines. So total 12 lines, and the last 2 lines, they're rhyming couplets. We call it rhyming couplet.
14 line.
G, G. Yes. Yes, Asim. You're saying something.
So,
Could you
is
please text,
mandatory rhyme like
Asif, could you please text your question? Please text your question.
yes, sir.
Okay, if you have any question, you can text me, okay? Then I will answer to it. No problem. All right, let's move on to the next segment. You see, it is written in iambic pentameter. So sonnets are written in iambic pentameter. That means a poetic meter of 10 beats. Penta means 5. So there will be 10 beats, and in one beat, we will have this kind of rhyming pattern, that is alternating unstressed and stressed syllables. So one unstressed syllable, it will be followed by a stressed syllables. Okay. Now, here in this slide, you can see a sonnet can be broken into 4 sections called quatrains. So we have already mentioned that quatrains, it means 4 lines. The first 3 quatrains contain 4 lines each, and that I have already showed you in the Shakespearean sonnet or English sonnet. That is the rhyming pattern you can see in this screen, a strict rhyme scheme there, A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F. So you see 3 quatrain. That means 3 multiplied by 4, 12 lines. So these are the 3 quatrains, 4 lines. So 4 lines means 1 quatrain equal to 4 lines. Okay, is it mandatory rhyming like this? Uh, when actually you want to follow any of these, like Petrarchan or the Italian sonnet or the English or Shakespearean sonnet, then this rhyming pattern is mandatory. For sonnet, it is mandatory. It's a fixed pattern, fixed rhyming scheme. If you want to write like this, then you have to write it in that way. William Wordsworth, he also wrote sonnets, and many other poets actually they also tried sonnets. So thing is that they changed. For example, Edmund Spenser, he also wrote sonnets. So his sonnets are called Spencerian Sonnets. But that his style is also it's different from this, but it's 14 lines, but different rhyming pattern, different rhyming pattern. So you can change the rhyming pattern, but you have to maintain 14 lines, because if it is not 14 lines, then it's not a sonnet. So sonnet actually it has a fixed, number of lines, and pattern is almost fixed. So if you follow any of these, then you have to follow that strictly. Or you can create your ones, but that must be 14 lines, but the change in the rhyming pattern, and also you can bring change in the meter. So if you're capable or competent enough to have this, then you can introduce your own sonnet pattern, but it must have 14 lines. Okay. Now, a sonnet can be broken into 4 sections called quatrains. All right, let me check. What is the next question? All right, good, great. So you've got it. I'm glad that you've got the answer. Right, a sonnet can be broken into 4 sections called quatrains that I have already mentioned. The first 3 quatrains contain 4 lines each and use an alternating rhyming scheme. The final quatrain consists of just 2 lines. So the rhyming couplet, the last 2 lines, which both rhyme. So each quatrain should progress the poem as follows. So you see the first quatrain, we are talking about Shakespearean or English sonnet. They are like this. So it's a number of lines, 4, and rhyming scheme is A, B, A, B. And the second quatrain, you can see the rhyming scheme is C, D, C, D. So what will they do? The first quatrain, that will establish the sonnet theme, or it will establish the subject matter of the sonnet. The second quatrain, and the rhyming scheme is C, D, C, D. So that will develop the sonnet's theme. So first 4 lines that will establish the subject. Second quatrain that will develop the sonnet's theme. And the third quatrain, and as you can see, the rhyming scheme is E, F, E, F. That should round off the sonnet's theme. So the whole theme that will round off means it will give the theme. It will give the theme a completion. Okay, that will complete the theme. And the rhyming couplet, what it will do, that will give us the conclusion, the ending. So it should act as a conclusion to the sonnet. And the rhyming scheme is G, G. So 2 lines, 2 rhyming lines, we call them couplet, the rhyming couplet, and the rhyming pattern is G, G. All right. Now,
Yes, sir.
yes, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay, great. Great. Now, uh, uh, just some more thematic things, and after that we will have some examples, so it will help you to understand it. Now, the original form of sonnet was Italian. So we talked about the English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet. Now we're going to talk about the Italian or Petrarchan sonnet. Also, it has 4 lines, and it has also octet and sestet, but here the rhyming pattern is different. As you can see, A, B, B, A, B, B, A. You see the first quatrain and second quatrain, they have the same rhyming pattern. A, B, B, A, B, B, A. And the sestet, the last 6 lines, actually, see, they have a different rhyming pattern. Either it will be C, D, E, C, D, E, or C, D, C, C, D, C, D, C, D. So C, D, E, C, D, E, or C, D, C, D, C, D. So that is the rhyming pattern. The first 8 lines, they have similar, and the last 6 lines, they have similar kind of rhyming pattern. They're not like the English rhyming pattern. I mean, in English, we have seen that the first quatrain, the second quatrain, and the third quatrain, they have a different rhyming pattern. And the last, we have a couplet, a rhyming couplet, GG. But here, we can see that in the Petrarchan sonnet or the Italian sonnet, the first 8 lines, the sestet, they have a similar rhyming pattern. And the last 6 lines, they have a similar rhyming pattern. All right, the English or Shakespearean sonnet came later. So the oldest form of sonnet is Italian or Petrarchan sonnet. And then later on, actually the Italian poet Petrarch, he first introduced this Petrarchan sonnet, this sonnet. So after his name, we call it now Petrarchan sonnet. The English or Shakespearean sonnet came later, and as noted, is made of 3 quatrains rhyming. We have already mentioned it: A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F. You see, the English or Shakespearean sonnet pattern is completely different from the Petrarchan sonnet form. And the closing rhymed heroic 3 quatrains, and the closing rhymed heroic couplet is GG. Now, I have earlier, just a little bit earlier, I mentioned that there is another kind of sonnet. When you ask the question that should we follow this kind of rhyming pattern, is it mandatory to follow this rhyming pattern? So there, actually, I answered that there is another one, that is Spencerian Sonnet. So this Edmund Spenser, another famous English poet, he introduced this Spencerian Sonnet. It's a variation. It's developed by him, and you can see the rhyming pattern is different. In Shakespearean sonnet, we have A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, but his one is A, B, A, B, B, C, B, C, C, D, C, D, E, E. So we see, excuse me, in the,
Yes, sir.
yes, in the Shakespearean, the last 2 is G, G, but here E, E. So we have examples, don't worry. So when you see the examples, then it will help you to understand it. Okay, so see, since its introduction into English in the 16th century, the 14-line sonnet form has remained relatively stable. See, the stable means very little change has been brought here. Mostly, actually, it is a fixed form, so not that much change has been brought in this sonnet form. And but it's also actually proving itself a flexible container for all kinds of poetry. So it can contain different kinds of poetry in it, long enough that its images and symbols can carry detail rather than becoming cryptic or abstract, and short enough to require a distillation of poetic thought. This is very interesting. It says that though it is short, it can have images, it can have symbols, and uh, without becoming cryptic or abstract. So it is, since you can see the poetry, these kind of poems, actually, there are only 14 lines. So there is no chance of being that much cryptic or abstract. Rather, it is concrete. It is understandable that what is this octave or sestet, actually, what are they conveying, or what do they want to convey? The meaning can be understood quite easily, even if it is not that much easily, but easily. So it is not cryptic. It is not something which is hidden or very enigmatic or very abstract. It's not like that. Rather, it is short, but because of the use of images and symbols, we can understand them easily. Okay, now let's see. So we have meter there. I have already mentioned it. It's mostly iambic meter. That is, one unstressed syllable is followed by a stressed syllable. And also sometimes some poet, they can also follow the trochee, which is the opposite, like opposite of the iambic meter. That is unstressed syllable, stressed syllable is followed by an unstressed. In the iambic, unstressed syllable is followed by stressed syllable, and in the trochee, the stressed syllable is followed by an unstressed syllable. So in this way, and penta means five. So we have 5 meter in a single line. So that's what is called iambic pentameter. Okay, and rhyming scheme we have already mentioned it. So you can see it now. Let's see. Italian sonnet, I have already explained it, so I'm not going to explain it from here. You'll be able to understand it easily. And then also I talked about volta. What is volta? Volta is the turning of thought, and we have sestet, octave and sestet. In the octave, we have the preposition, the establishment of the theme, and in the octave and in the sestet, we have the conclusion. We have a different theme, and also we have the conclusion there. And volta, the ninth line, that will introduce the turning of thoughts, or you can say the new ideas that will be introduced in the ninth line, and which is called volta. And it's from the Italian language. It means turn, Turn. Volta means turn, so turn of thoughts. Okay, now here is a poem. As you can see, it's an example of an Italian poem, Italian sonnet or Petrarchan sonnet, as you can see. Can you see the screen? Please look at the screen.
Yes, sir. I
Yeah.
can see, sir.
Okay. So here you can see, ye who in rhymes disperse the echoes here of those sad sighs with which my heart I fed, when early youth may mazy wanderings led, fondly different from what I now appear. So you see here and appear. So A and then B B A. So A B B A. Then again you can say fluttering twixt frantic hope and frantic fear, from those by whom my various style is read, I hope if ever their hearts for love have bled, not only pardon, but perhaps a tear. So you see again, A, B, B, A. Okay, so A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A. Now, these 4 lines, first 4 lines, one quatrain, second 4 lines, the second quatrain. So 2 quatrains together, that is 8 lines. These first 8 lines, it is called octave. Okay, Asif? The first 8 lines called octave.
Okay,
Oh,
sir.
okay. Now we have the now in the second part we have 6 lines. So you see 3 lines together. So here you see, but now I clearly see that of mankind. Long time I was the tale, whence bitter thought and self-reproach with frequent blushes sting. While of my frenzy, shame the fruit I find, and sad repentance and the proof dear bought, that the world's joy is but a fleeting dream. So team dream. So you see, mankind, actually it doesn't rhyme, it rhymes with the find. So you see the mankind, if it is ABBA, ABBA, then we have C, then we have D, then we have C, then we have C, then we have D, C. So you see C, D, C, C, D, C, or C, D, E, C, D, E. So that is the rhyming pattern. Okay, that is Petrarchan. Now we can go for example, the English sonnet. If you take a look at the screen, you can see there's an English sonnet. It is written by Shakespeare. We can also call it Shakespearean Sonnet. There it is. It says, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling bust of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime to hold the eye, to hold the eye of heaven shines, and often in his golden complexion deemed, and every fair form fair sometime declines, by chance on nature's changing course untrimmed. But the eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall that brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as man can breathe or eyes can see, so long live these, and this gives life to thee. So you can see the rhyme scheme, day and May. So A, and the temperate and date. So you see A, B, A, B, then shines and declines. So that is C. So and dim, that is D. So C, D, C, D, then fade and shade. So C, D, then E, it's O's and grows. So look at the rhyming scheme: A B A B, C D C D, then E F E F, and the last two is you can see C D, that is G G. So it's the last two lines of the rhyming couplet. C D. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I
right.
read the book 3 times, but sonnet.
Okay, now I will play a video for you. So from there, you can also uh, get the idea clearly. Okay, so here is a recitation of the poem "Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day" by William Shakespeare. Here you go.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Oh, thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe, or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
Okay. Uh, so how did you find it? You can text me if you have problem with the internet. So you can text me. I hope you liked it. It's a nice recitation. It's a BBC production,
Yes, sir.
so the quality is very good, and you see it has been recited very well. So from there, actually, you can get, and it's very sonorous to the ear. So it's very soothing, very sonorous, very mellifluous, melodious. It sounds like a song. Now we have some more types of sonnets, like as you can see in the modern sonnet. In the 20th century, poets like Edna St. Vincent Millay, Robert Lowell, and W.H. Auden continued to use and evolve the form of the sonnet by creating their own variations. So, as you were asking at some point of today's discussion, that whether it is mandatory to uh, follow this form of sonnet. So you can see you can have the variation, but the idea is 14 lines, and within these 14 lines, you can change the rhyming pattern, you can change the meter. So, there must be some pattern in there. Otherwise, it will not be a sonnet. So you can bring some changes there. These modern variations are more extreme than the difference between Italian and English sonnets. So you see, they have brought lots of changes in the style of sonnet. So it's more than the Italian and English sonnets. So they vary from the Italian and English sonnets. Modern poets have written unrhymed sonnets. It's very interesting, you see, inverted sonnets in which the sestet precedes the octave, and sonnets with unusual rhyme schemes. Now, you see, 14 lines is there. But the thing is that we have seen that octave is at the beginning, the first 8 lines, and sestet at the end. But some of these poets, they change the pattern. So first they introduced the sestet, the 6 lines, they came first, and octave, that is 8 lines, it came later. So they put sestet at the top, and they put octave at the bottom. So this is very interesting kind of patterning. So inverted. So they changed the pattern. Now, although today, when people prefer to sonnets, they usually mean the original form of the sonnet, of the English or Petrarchan sonnet. And some modern poets still write traditional sonnets. Modern sonnets can be any poem of 14 lines with or without a rhyme scheme. So when actually we talk about sonnets in English literature, so all the time actually we go back, we refer to the original form of sonnet. So people usually actually refer to original form of sonnet. So we don't prefer, I mean, this the chains type of sonnet that much. But still, you can see the modern sonnet. We can find 14 lines, but sometimes they don't have any rhyme scheme. 14 lines are there, but the rhyme scheme it's missing. It's not like the traditional sonnet form. There are also some other types of sonnets, as you can see. Other variations of the sonnet have risen throughout history, but these variations are always derived from one of the three forms described above. So either it's the Petrarchan sonnet or the Italian sonnet, or maybe the English or the Shakespearean sonnet or the Spencerian sonnet. So all these sonnets that we want to talk about, I mean, the other types of sonnets, they are the variation of these three types of sonnets. In one way or another way, actually, when we try to write sonnets, we follow those three: Italian or Petrarchan, or English or Shakespearean, or the Spencerian sonnets. Okay. Now, there is another sonnet, you see, Occitan sonnets. The Occitan is a somewhat obscure Romance language that was spoken in parts of Italy, France, and Spain. So it's a kind of different kinds of language. It's spoken especially in that uh, uh, part of the world, that is Italy, France, and Spain. That it is called Occitan sonnets. Many sonnets were written in the Occitan during the 13th and 14th centuries, and these sonnets have their own form, which differs from Italian sonnets in that the sestet of an Occitan sonnet has a CD rhyme scheme. So you see, they differ. This kind of sonnet actually differs from Italian sonnets. So they try to bring a difference in the sestet, especially in the rhyming scheme. So, and because of the difference of the language, also it is called. It has a different name, as I have already mentioned. And then Spencerian sonnets, I've already mentioned it. In the 16th century, English poet Edmund Spenser created his own variation of the English sonnet using a rhyming scheme. You see, his rhyming scheme is different: A B A B, B C B C, C D C D, E E. So different rhyming pattern. And then also we have another one that is called coded sonnets. The Italian poet Francesco Bernè is credited with the invention of this variation on the standard sonnet form. So the standard sonnet form, 14 lines, but he invented a different rhyming pattern. A 14-line sonnet is followed by a brief concluding stanza of a few lines, now known as a coda. So this is very interesting. You see, he introduced 14-line sonnet is there. Line number is okay. Line numbers are okay, 14 lines. But is followed by a brief concluding stanza. So there is also a concluding stanza is there, and he is calling it coda. This variation is typically used for satirical poems such as John Milton's On the New Forces of Conscience Under the Long Parliament. So John Milton actually he wrote this satirical poem, and he followed this style: 14 lines followed by a coda. That means a concluding stanza will be there, maybe 4 lines or 2 lines. Okay, so this is interesting. So it's not a regular sonnet, it's a little deviation from the sonnet. So there are some other types also, like cartel sonnets and also word sonnets. So, but these are not that much important, so I don't want to explain all these, I mean, in detail. Now, Shakespearean sonnet is very important, or the English sonnet that we say. So I will finish our today's talk with a little bit of, more discussion about the Shakespearean sonnet, so we can have a better understanding of this sonnet. Now here you see the same poem actually I have also introduced here for our understanding. Here you see the most well-known and important sonnets in the English language were written by Shakespeare. These sonnets cover such themes as love, jealousy, beauty, infidelity, the passage of time, and death. So you see, these are the themes. So Shakespeare actually used these themes in his sonnets. The first 126 sonnets are addressed to young women, while the last 28 are addressed to women. So you see, Shakespeare wrote a total number of, you can say, 154 sonnets. So out of these 154 sonnets, 126, so first 126 sonnets, it is believed that they're addressed to a young man, and the last 28 sonnets they're addressed to a woman. So it's about the theme, and also we have already come to know about the structures of the poem. So this is more or less about the Shakespearean sonnet, and the same poem, you can see it here. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So it's sonnet number 18. So it is from the first 126 sonnets. So this is all about today's discussion about the sonnet. I hope that it will help you to understand what is sonnet. So if you need more help about it, so we can talk about more in our coming lectures. So after this, I'd like to conclude today's discussion about the subjective poetry. So from our subjective poetry, we have discussed two. One is the lyric, and the second one is sonnet. So we are left with two more prominent types of sonnets. So in our coming lectures, we'll try to cover those two. And sonnet we have already discussed in our today's lecture. So ask if there is any other one. So if you have any more questions, so you can ask. Otherwise, I would like to conclude our today's session. So do you have any more question or any opinion or any comment? Anything? Do you like to comment?
No, no question.
Okay. Okay, then in that case, I'd like to call it a day and hope to see you next time, inshallah. Okay, Asif? Thank you very much. Thank you all. Okay, take care of yourself and talk to you next time, inshallah. Bye.